say? Luxurious Heat Nation. Yeah. Mercy and Lago. Down to Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds.
Down to Biscayne.
Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. This is another post-game edition, playoff edition of 5 on the Floor. We come to you live. Today's floor plan, we got Digital Adele. We got Major Passons. We come to you begrudgingly, deflated, humbled. The Heat lost by 37 in Game 3, and we thought that was as bad as it could get. They lose tonight, 138-83, 55-point loss on their home floor. Puts an exclamation point of the worst type on what was a tumultuous season that sucked the life out of a lot of Heat fans by the end of it. Tyler Herro had one of the worst homestands that he could possibly have had in games 3 and 4. So we've got some stuff to talk about this game, but we're also going to talk bigger picture. It is the last post-game show of the year, so we're going to get to the segments. We're going to do those types of things, but I think that this, in certain ways, as we've gotten through the 4-game sweep and Cleveland completely outclassed Miami, there's a part of losing like this by 55 on your home floor to end the season with such a thud. There's such a gap between you and the 1 seed that it almost brings clarity in a way that just losing in the regular season and, not making the playoffs, I don't know that it would have brought as much clarity. So if there's anything that I'm going to look at positively, it's that this showed us how far away they really are, and everyone needs to take note of that in that building. This is not the type of group that could make a run all of a sudden. They need to look at everything. Wholesale changes should be on the table. If you've looked at any Heat team that's been swept in their history, especially since Riley's been in town, they generally either go towards a lean year after that or they look to make big changes. So we're going to see. It's a really important offseason for Miami. So I'm starting out by acknowledging that this was the worst way for it to end. I think, and I heard from many in the arena that Pat Riley looked quite dejected as he watched today's game. I don't blame him. I was disgusted as we were on playback. We were wondering how the hell we were going to get through it. Adele, I'll go to you first. Just however you want to sum this up. You can either talk basketball about today and what went wrong and what was just absolutely just a drubbing of epic proportions, or just generally your Heat thoughts as this is the final post-game show, and then we'll hit our segments after we talk to Major.
One of the things that really stood out to me about this game in particular and about the series, it looked like a rudderless ship. It didn't really have a direction of where it was going. And I don't mean that as a take on the leadership of the head coach. I mean the leadership by the players on the floor. They just looked lifeless. They looked defeated. They had no direction. And they really, this build is over, is my overarching theme and thoughts on this. I don't think anything should really be off the table. Outside of, to me, Bam Adebayo being your staple defensive player. But I think everything else should be on the table. And it's going to be very interesting offseason. The Heat front office is going to have a lot of soul searching to do to come up with avenues to fix this situation. It may need to be a long-term vision and not a short-sighted one. And so it's just a really defeating feeling as a Heat fan, and really leaves you wondering what comes next.
Fernando Lopez comes in, and we are doing this show live for our podcast, audio only audience. He comes in and quickly wants to mention to Adele that Bam Adebayo is a paperclip, not a staple of the future build. I am just going to adamantly disagree with that. We're going to talk about what Bam's season looked like, and I think that there are fair conversations to be had about how you build going forward with Bam Adebayo, but I think he's part of the solution. He is not part of the problem. Major, your thoughts on the season, your thoughts on tonight, because I think you and I tend to sway on the most positive side of most of this. Even the tough ones, we tend to like bounce back from it. They lose by 37 in game 3. They come out here tonight. They're just outclassed. They lose by 55. I mean, it is as bad as it could have ended. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't kidding when I sent the text asking if we could just do it at halftime. I mean, we knew everything we were going to say then, right? Nothing else mattered. I just want to point out, and the biggest thing to me, losing's one thing. It's sports. You're going to lose. I think I might have mentioned that after game 3. I mean, it's a lot of the same thoughts, but quitting is unacceptable. And not saying everyone did. There was select few players that got hard, but a lot of the team looked like they quit, right? And that is what I am disgusted at. Look, they played horrible. They got just absolutely smacked in back-to-back games after honestly 2 straight games of being in it, like away. Like it was, I don't think anyone would have predicted this for these 2 home games after watching those first 2. But to quit like that is pathetic. Pat cannot watch that. And I know we use Pat as kind of like talking about the front office. We know he's not the one doing every single thing and everything. But so when I say Pat, I'm not meaning him specifically.
Yeah. You mean the group in general, but you're saying him as the
face.
Figurehead.
Yeah,
got it.
They and Pat can't watch that and think we can run this back. Internal developments, unless they're thinking of a top 5 pick. Like, they're just flat out bad. And like, I think if you're someone that wanted the Heat to make changes, ironically, them getting killed like this in the playoffs is how you get those changes. Not only this, I firmly believe this was the reason why they needed to not give up 2 unprotected picks. They're just bad right now. So if they can't make changes, they're going to be in the lottery again and probably have better odds. So, I mean, I don't know, just terrible. Not really much else to say. Embarrassing that they quit like that. At least they didn't have the worst loss in playoff history. I guess that's something we can at least not cry about.
The bar is low tonight on 5 on the Floor, and Heat basketball, Heat playoff basketball is at a low. And I said it from the beginning, a 37-win team is not a playoff team to me. And I'll say this again, and I don't care if you feel like it's old school. To me, the 8th seed is like the 41-win 500 team, and everyone goes up from there. Anybody who's under 500 does not deserve to play in the postseason. I'm not moving off that stance, and it's reinforced by the way that this Heat play into the playoff went for them, because they were completely had a false sense of hope, at least, even if it's just them being competitive, being professionals, getting through those games. They then got to Cleveland and it was a total buzzsaw. They, even in their most efficient and productive offensive game in game 2, they were not good enough to beat this team. So when things really got at a screeching halt, when we talk about pace, when we talk about offense in Miami, they just had no shot. Let's go to our first segment. We're going to go to Insurance by Lynette, the player of the game. I do want to recognize somebody from Cleveland here before we pivot to our next segment. So let's do player of the night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So I'm not picking anybody on the Miami side. That's for damn sure. But Jared Allen, he flew down to Miami from Cleveland, came in, didn't play more than 25 minutes in either game, only missed 1 shot from the field in game 3 and 4 combined. He was 5 of 5 tonight. Didn't miss a free throw while he came down to Miami. Had double-digit rebounds, and tonight had 6 steals. Jared Allen, I had questions whether he was going to be a guy that could anchor a defense and be consistent in the playoffs. He's answering a lot of those questions. I think this team looks like a team that could beat Boston, and I was not on that bandwagon prior to this series. The way they just outclassed Miami top to bottom, and it started in the front court. I think Bam has his moments, obviously, but it just was not enough. So tonight, I'm shouting out Jared Allen. To either of you have anybody else you want to call out? Adele, we'll go to you first.
I mean, I just want to shout out the entire Cleveland Cavalier roster, because it seemed like no matter what they needed, they got from whoever it was they called upon throughout the entire series. And then tonight, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, this guy, 58%, I mean, 53.3% tonight from the field, 50% from 3, 5 assists, only 2 turnovers, 22 points. And anytime they needed a big bucket, like in game 2, when you mentioned game 2, he came through with a big bucket. And that's what your leader of your team, superstar, max player is supposed to do. And by contrast, it showed us Miami Heat, they do not have, quote unquote, said max player superstar on their roster. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell being the ultimate contrast for the Miami Heat.
Yes, it definitely showed what the Heat are lacking. Want to give a quick shout out to a couple of super chats that came in along the way here. Ronald, we appreciate the $1.99 donation. He says the play-in is ass. They were a 10 seed for a reason. So we're doing a little bit of venting there. I understand that. And then Adam comes in with the $2 donation, says, thanks, G. We have the Panthers. We need changes. Major, your thoughts on players of the night? Anything from Cleveland that you think is interesting when you think about how it could apply to the Heat? Just general gripes on players, your recap of this series and what you thought overall in terms of who shined most for either team, but obviously can't be too much shining from this Heat group.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I mean, basically everything just Adele said, so I'm not just going to repeat everything he just said, but I mean, he really stood out. Evan Mobley, his ability to take like Wiggins off the dribble and Jovic off the dribble and other things like that stood out. Him being able to move, pairing that up with Jared Allen, like that's the one thing. That's what you, not saying to that level, but that's kind of in some way you hope of having someone like Bam and Ware, like 2 bigs that can move at a certain level. Now, we're not going to get into the Ware thing today. I don't think I have the heart for it right now. No. But that is like something in some way or another, some percentage of that's what you get with Ware and Bam. 2 bigs that can both play defense and play their roles as Ware continues to develop. Hopefully, and he learned some of the technical aspects of the game. But I think that was evident that not only do they have size that can move, because we've seen in several playoff series, it doesn't matter if you have size if they just get played off the floor. And but they have functional size, and then they have knockdown shooters everywhere. So this team's built great. I mean, I think me and you, Greg, kind of had the same thought of, oh, we're playing the Cavs, and kind of the old Cavs go into your mind, like the ones that kind of shrunk in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The lights were too bright is literally a Jarrett Allen. Oh, and so you're just kind of thinking you get that, but they're different this year. I think you can't watch this and not think they're top 2 favorites for the title with OKC.
I'm with you. I think talent, chemistry, they have both of those things on their side. That was the other thing between the two bigs. It takes a level of chemistry. They didn't have to play big minutes in the games in Miami, but just overall, I thought that this group, everybody's roles clearly defined. The DeAndre Hunter move was smart by them. So, I mean, as someone who usually will not give Cleveland the benefit of the doubt, I think that this team is worth watching. I think that they can push Boston. So that'll be interesting to watch as Boston, tries to close out Orlando here shortly. Let's get to the next segment. We'll go to the Mobile C-Arm and Staffing X-Ray Play of the Day.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you if you work in a hospital or a medical office. Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the Play of the Day.
We're not going to tap into an individual play. We're going to X-ray the play of Tyler Herro. 30 minutes, 1 of 10, 4 points. Gets to the free throw line twice, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 rebound, 3 personal fouls, was just completely taken out of his game. This to me seemed more than just schematic stuff that Cleveland did that bothered him. This was like something fell out of the bottom for him. That's my take on it. Major, I'll go to you first on this. Do you think that Tyler Herro, that this was really like Cleveland, and it very well could be that Cleveland did things from a scheme standpoint that bothered Herro, made things difficult for him. But to me, as this progressed, it just seemed like he kind of knew he couldn't get to his spots, and it just completely messed with his ability to get off any offense that made sense. Your thoughts on the way that they guarded Tyler and his really lackluster, abysmal performance in the closeout sweep game of 4 tonight?
Yeah, I thought today it was evident from the start that Herro had a different mindset in where he was going to get his shots. I mean, first, second possession, he pulls up and takes a semi-transition 3 with a hand in his face. He made it. It was like his one make all night that I remember. And that was the perfect thing of he didn't feel like he could get to his spots. But he got to his spots in game 2. He got to his spots and times in game 1. Clearly things changed. Like the Cavs figured it out. They played tougher. They put more physicality on him. I think they kind of bullied him around a little bit. And then things that I talked about last game, you have basically players playing one up of what they're really supposed to. Herro was an all-star, fantastic season, but the playoffs showed he can't be that number one option in the playoffs. I think Herro knows that. I mean, what is the quote that's going around now? I need Jimmy Butler. There's got to be more context.
Show. Oh my gosh.
There's got to be more context, and we'll talk about that on another show. But like, he knows also. This takes him out of like, if he asks for the max, it's like, you're crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though, if you're going to bring him back at a lesser deal, there is, I think, no Heat fan wants to hear this. There is a deal that makes sense right now, that he was still a great offensive engine, but you have to have enough in the tank to bring in a number one. Like, if he's your number one, where he's clearly coming in a game 4, where he did not try to get to any of his spots because it looked like, to me mentally, he didn't think he could get there. So why even try? I'm going to take a bunch of threes, right? It took him out of the equation of taking that. He took a leap, but taking that next leap. type, where you're in that, hey, you might be a 1B in the playoffs type thing. Clearly a number 2, 3 offensive option on a very good contender, but disappointing, I would say. Disappointing after the season and after the first 2 games he had.
9 of his 10 field goal attempts were from 3. That's just, he couldn't get to even his mid-range comfort zone shots, Adele. It wasn't happening. I'm not going to pile on with Tyler. Your thoughts on Bam's series? I think that this is a tough one, and we're going to devote further episodes to kind of a postmortem on everybody on the team. So I'm just kind of trying to hit the high notes here. Bam Adebayo finished tonight 6 of 13 from the field, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, but it wasn't enough from him. I mean, like, let's just be honest. He didn't outplay Evan Mobley the way that we've seen him outplay guys that have been put in the conversation with him and he's taken it personally. That didn't transpire in this series. Your thoughts on Bam's season, your thoughts on Bam's series, and kind of what do you think is next for him looking ahead to next season?
I think Bam, if we're talking about his season, like big picture view, I think that he was just really worn and down and run down, and not just physically, but mentally with all the Jimmy stuff swirling, all the Olympic stuff that was going on. And he just hadn't had an off season to really reset. So I actually think Bam's going to come back better than he was prior. But I think what this series and this build really shows is that, one, Bam needs a facilitator. The 2 players that played the best together all season were Duncan and Bam when they're together. Like, Spo didn't really want that to happen because Duncan had the bad back and all that. But, when they did play together, Bam is at his best whenever he had a facilitator. And Duncan's not a true facilitator. He was just the best one that we had at the time until Davion came along. And that's saying something, because that's not really Duncan's forte. Bam is still an elite defender. He can guard 1 through 5. I still think he's the pillar you build around in terms of, like, if you're going to keep a piece, it would be Bam, in my opinion. But I think the offseason is going to be good for him. That's my overarching thought. Is he a number 1? No, he's not going to be your main scoring option. He really shouldn't even technically be your second scoring option. But that doesn't mean he's not a mainstay, because what he does defensively, you're not able to really replicate. You're not really able to appreciate that when you're on a team that has more holes and leaks in it than the Titanic.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is that the Heat value what he brings so much, but the Heat team just generally needs more than what, like all the X factor stuff that they love from Bam. Like right now, they need things that transcend the X factors. So I know fans are going to be frustrated right now, but I do think, I'm going to say it again in this show, Bam is part of the solution going forward. He's a guy that I think that they would look to help transition from one era to the next and be that player. They've pretty openly been willing to pay him the maximum extensions as they come. I think they're going to continue to be interested in just doing that and keeping him in Miami. That's my read on it. And people are going to think that we're Bam apologists, but this was a weird year for him. I wish it would have gone better. He started off so bad shooting, and it was just uphill from there. Tough series overall. Let's actually go to our last segment. We're going to do defending the house. The Heat did not defend the house tonight. I can't believe that they lost by 55. So, let's do the real estate shop segment before we get out of here.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The real estate shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Some quotes coming in here. This is via Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press. Spo says, damn, it was humbling. It was humbling. They showed us why we weren't ready for that. Cleveland won the series by 122 points, the most lopsided series in NBA playoff history, folks. This was that kind of series. So there's no defending the house here. I would, I guess, say let's challenge ourselves to think about if there's one thing that you could defend the organization about going into the offseason, what would it be? I'll go first here. I will defend the organization and say that I think that if they can make the right trades using the salaries that they have, I see a path to them figuring out a group rebuilt around Bam Adebayo that could be a, let's say, Eastern Conference playoff contender. I think that they can quickly turn that around. That is, and I think that they can do that basically with some of the young players they have or using future picks, making smart deals for guys that fit. So if I'm going to defend the Heat organization today, that's how I'll do it. But it doesn't feel like the right day to do that. Either of you have anything better than that to defend the Heat on a day where it's really, there's no defense for losing by 55 on your home floor. So I don't even know why I'm doing this segment this way, because there's nothing we can obviously say that'll make fans feel good about today. But anything to defend the Heat going forward and how we should be thinking about this team, in the next iteration of it next season and over the summer.
I'll say something. My camera went a little bit blurry, but that's okay. The one thing I'll take away is that if someone tells you a house divided cannot stand, you should probably believe them.
Yeah. Shout out to that. Dwayne Wade let them know very early on, and he was so right. And they should have taken heed to that long before he said it out loud, because there were, there were whispers of disconnects for long periods of time. And that's all with the benefit of hindsight. So it's a tough year. It's a tough loss. It's humbling. You heard Spoelstra in the quick comment that I mentioned. I think that you're going to hear him. That's going to be echoed amongst the players. This is a debilitating type of home loss. In all of the sweeps, when I think back to, they got swept by the Bulls back in 95, 96. They got swept by the Hornets with Brian Grant and Eddie Jones, and Baron Davis was on, and Jamal Mashburn was a Hornet. And then they got swept after they won the championship in 06 by the Bulls. None of those felt like they feel today. So there's a lot of building that needs to happen. We're going to see what takes place over the summer. I want to thank all of our loyal viewers and listeners for the post-game shows throughout the season. Thank you to Adele. Thank you to Major for all of the home game work, along with myself, Sean Rochester as well, Eternal, Naveen, a bunch of other people that I'm not thinking about. Gio came on for some episodes.
Yeah.
So we've had Matt. Who else? Anybody else that I'm missing? I'm trying to shout everybody out. Ben Tovia, he came on a couple as well. I'll say Eternal twice so that he makes sure that he heard his name. And thank you to our viewers. Check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. The most heat anywhere. We're going to be talking draft immediately. We're pivoting. We are getting into the draft ASAP. Adele will be heading up a lot of that content, but I'll be coming along for the ride. Major will be there too. Thank you to everyone, and we are out of here. The Heat lose. Season is over. I guess now we watch Jimmy in Golden State. Good night.